Hey everyone, so here we're going to look at money in the hands. Now, what we need to think about first is how different people actually value money differently. Everybody needs money, but for some people, money is the absolute hallmark of success. It's their highest attainment. And for other people, money isn't quite seen as so important. For example, some people might put their creativity on a higher pedestal. They might value working with other people, helping others, being more charitable, and things like this. So what we're going to look at here are hands of people who have been very financially successful and are geared towards making money. Let's have a look. Okay, so this is our first money-orientated hand. So what we can see is there are some quite strong fire qualities in the hand shape and the lines. So having the fire element in the hand always gives somebody a bit more of a drive for money. Fire types are more competitive, they're more showy and they're more flashy, and very often, of course, they want to work in the world of making money because this enables all of those things. The main thing that I want to look at this hand here that makes it particularly money orientated is the angle and the ending of the emotion line. So the emotion line here curves up and ends underneath the middle finger. Now, when the emotion line ends under the middle finger, what it means is that the person is emotionally geared towards everything that the middle finger relates to, which is structure and security. And the fundamental way in which somebody is going to feel like they have structure and security is by obtaining money, by having a nice home, by having a solid marriage, by having a good car. All of these things become very important to somebody who's got a curved emotion line that's heading towards the middle finger. So what we can see with this hand is that he's going to be very, very driven by things that bring him this emotional sense of stability and security. So we know that this is going to be finances and being a business person, giving the type of hand that he's got. If we look at the fate line, which is the one running up the center, again towards this middle finger, it's quite tied into the lifeline, which shows a sense of conformity within his work and a sense of obligation and duty. So he's likely to be working very hard, doing something that he feels he ought to be doing to make this kind of money. So this is absolutely the case for this man here. He is a physiotherapist, but he also runs workshops about growing your business, about making money, and everything that he does within his work is very money orientated. And although he's working in a therapeutic role, it's absolutely the financial side of it that he's interested in. He's always looking for ways in which to draw in new patients, to get people to stay for longer, not giving too much on the first treatment, making sure they come back for a second and a third and a fourth. And he gets very passionate, very excited about selling this to everyone because he is a fire hand. When he teaches his workshops on building your business and money making, he of course draws in quite a lot of people, and that in itself is another source of income for him, which he really appreciates. And looking at our next hand, this is a very fiery hand. It's a slightly different shape to the last one. The other one had more physical, earthy qualities. This one would have slightly more air qualities, just in its finger length and the refinement of the hand shape. However, if you look at the lines, it's very excitable, it's very energetic. It's definitely a clear fire hand. So when people have got these fire hands, it means that they're going to be very action orientated. They're going to be bored very quickly. They're going to want to be accomplishing a lot. They're going to need lots of goals and lots of stimulation. So naturally, they do lend themselves better to the world of business because it allows for all these attributes to flourish in different ways. If we look at this lady's hand here, her headline is very long and it's very clear and fine. So this is a good quality headline, and what this shows is somebody who's got a very strong mental processing power. They're going to be able to deal with lots of complex things at work, have a finger in all the different areas that they're working with. And when I was speaking to this lady about this, it was absolutely the case. So she actually was running two different businesses, and given the capabilities of her headline, she was involved with all the different aspects of it. She was involved in the financial side of it, the marketing side of it. She was doing the customer relations and all of these sorts of things. So the hand is very busy. It's a fire hand, so it needs lots of action, it needs lots of challenge, it needs lots of goals. So the two businesses that she was running certainly gave her all of these things. If we look at the length of her index finger as well, it's a long index finger, which shows a heightened sense of responsibility and control. So we know that this person is going to be incredibly diligent with their work. She's going to be very hardworking. She's going to be very conscientious with what she does. And because of that headline, she's going to be thinking about it constantly and have all these different ideas and all these different avenues of which she can explore it. The headline is actually detached from the Lifeline as well, which means that her scope for originality is going to be increased. She's definitely going to be coming up with a lot of original thoughts, thinking outside the box, and having a lot of creative ideas as well. The challenge for this hand really is winding down. If we can see on the bottom part of the hand on the outside, there are lots of stress lines coming into the hand. It's a very, very busy hand. There's not much relaxation that we can see here. So we know that this person is always going to be orientated towards business and towards doing a lot. So therefore we can assume that money is going to be created when doing that. However, the focus of this reading would definitely be about winding down, not putting too much pressure on oneself, and finding good ways to relax. Okay, and this is another fire hand, slightly different looking from the last hand because it hasn't got quite as many lines, but if we look at this man's palm and the shape and the fingers, it's clearly a fire hand. It's a slightly narrower palm, the fingers are quite short. It's definitely going to be a person who's seeking action, seeking stimulation, wants adventure, and is going to be goal orientated. So if we look at the headline of this hand, it's actually more curving and more dipping, and if we follow its trajectory down, it's going right into the subconscious area of the palm. So when this is the case, it gives somebody a much more subjective and a much more creative way of thinking. This isn't going to be somebody who's just thinking in terms of maths and calculating things and logically. It's going to be somebody who's thinking much more personally, much more abstractly, and much more subjectively fundamentally. So this person is a very interesting chap. He had an extremely good education, is very, very bright. And what he does now is he's a professional bridge player and a game maker. So he creates these incredibly complicated card games, and he also goes around the world playing in bridge tournaments. Now, we can see that his hand is capable of these things because of his imaginative headline, and he's going to have wonderful new ways of thinking and coming up with ideas for all of these games that he wants to do. He's obviously very intelligent, so he's got the capacity to be very good at bridge and complex card games and things. And of course, because he's got this fire hand, he can be competitive and want to do well, and he likes the travel element that comes with it and the excitement within it all. Now, because he is a fire hand, the level of satisfaction doesn't just stop at creating the game and just playing the tournaments. A fire hand is competitive. They are driven. Therefore, he's going to want to succeed. He's going to want to be successful so that he can be a bit flashy. If we look at the whirls that he's got on all of his fingers, pretty much, these are going to individualize him. It means that he's going to have an individual sense of style and show and want to be on display in an original way. He's going to definitely want to be seen and recognized. He also has got a larger index finger, which means that he's going to have a huge amount of pressure and expectation that he's going to be putting on himself, and he wants to live up to these hugely high standards that he places on himself. When I talked to this chap about this, he said, yes, absolutely. You know, he really felt these high standards and this pressure that he puts on himself to be this huge success. And he says that he has a poster in his room that says something along the lines of, today I've made my first million, but I'm already looking ahead to make the second, third, fourth and fifth, or something like this. So he does live a very creative life. He lives a very fulfilling life in the sense that he gets to travel and play the games and stimulation from this that he gets, and he obviously loves this. And because he is a fire hand working within these niche domains, you would expect him to be successful because he's simply going to be more competitive, more cutting edge, and more showy than other people. So therefore, these people do tend to get ahead in business. Okay, so this hand here, I want to look at predominantly with the shapes of the hand and the physical quality again. So the main thing that we can see is this huge thumb area. The thumb itself is very, very thick and very large, and then the thumb ball is very, very big as well. So this person is actually a multi-millionaire, and he was head of a company in food trading in between countries and things. So very, very successful, and he was one of the big suppliers to a lot of the supermarkets in the UK. So we can see that the passion for food is very evident in the hand. The large thumb ball is going to give a love of beauty, a love of taste and art and things like this, as are the bottom phalanges to the fingers, which shows a very sensual side to him. He's going to be somebody that loves his food, loves his wine and things like this. If we look at the outside of his hand at the bottom, we can see a very large intensity line. So this gives somebody a very restless side to them. It means that they're going to feel like they must be accomplishing, they must be doing. It's kind of somebody who's going to be always itchy, always agitated unless they're doing enough. So what you've got here is somebody who's got a very artistic, kind of hedonistic hand with a lot of power, a lot of drive, and then they've got this huge intensity which is going to keep them driving, keep them pushing. The other thing to note is his little finger's very large. Now, when you see a large little finger, particularly on an earthy type hand like this, it can really add a business quality. It can add a lot of perception, a lot of insight into things. And it adds this kind of extra skill in communication, in depth of knowledge, and in interest. So for somebody who wants to be making a lot of money, when you see a large little finger like this, it just adds another ability in order for them to be able to do it. It's kind of like having this extra skill that they can have tucked away. Okay, so in relation to money again, we're looking at another earth hand. Now this is a very, really clear earth hand because we've got a square palm, we've got shorter fingers. So what this shows is endurance. Earth types are much more able to keep on driving, keep pushing, being resilient than other types. They're incredibly sturdy and they can be pushed to the limit and nothing will really happen. It's kind of like driving forward like a tank. He too has got very strong thumbs, which shows a huge amount of determination and willpower again. The thumb itself is very large and then the ball area is very big and firm. So this is a lot of physical presence again with this hand, which is going to give a lot of determination and willpower. Like the previous hand, we can also see large little fingers. So we know that a large little finger on an earth hand is going to give more insight, more depth to the person. It's going to make them perhaps a little bit smarter. You can think of it in this kind of way. So the person's going to have exceptional abilities that move him past somebody who's just very physical. But the real attribute that I want to look at with this hand here is the headline. The headline's really long and it's very fine quality. So when somebody's got a very long headline like this that's quite clear, it means that their processing speed, their mental bandwidth is going to be very good. This person's going to be able to think pretty fast. They're going to be very calculative. They're going to be very logical. They're going to be able to deal with an awful lot of complex information and doing it in a very technical way. So it could be the hand of somebody that's an engineer, for example, and a very good one. But because we're talking about money specifically, we know that this person is going to be very good at making money. And they are. They work in financial sales in London and they work incredibly hard hours. He works something like an 85-hour week. He gets up at 5:30 in the morning and finishes work at 10 o'clock at night and does this 6 days a week. And he's been doing this for several years. And because he's got this earth hand, he can endure that. He can keep pushing and he's got this energy and this drive and this power to follow it through. We can see that on the inner hand, there is a strong sense of obligation about what he does. The fire line, the fate line, is very much attached to the lifeline and overtaking it so that the work does become somebody's life, which is what you'd expect when somebody's working such long hours. But what we're demonstrating here is what it takes and the abilities and the qualities that you can see within somebody's hand that can lead them to make money. So with this hand particularly, you've got the earth hand shape, which is all about the drive, the determination, the power and the endurance. This very good quality headline, which shows somebody's mental computing power, his ability with numbers, digesting information, solving problems, thinking deeply. And then the large little finger, which is going to give an adjunct to all of these qualities and give him this mental agility, give him more depth of the way in which he thinks, and give him more precision and insight. Okay, so this is our last hand we're going to look at, and this is an air hand. The fingers are longer, the palm is squarer, which means the person's going to be very analytical, very communicative, and very in the mind. They're going to be thinking a lot. So this person is a bank manager, and they're very driven to make money. So how can we see this? Well, the headline is actually very short. Now, we've looked at long headlines previously, and we've explained how long headlines give somebody this greater bandwidth. It gives them more complexity, and it gives them more processing power in how they think. Now, this person has a medium short headline, and this is very often found on people who are very money driven and very interested in making lots of money. Because the headline is shorter, it means that they don't think too much past the immediate now. People with a shorter headline are very concerned with their immediate surroundings, the present, what's going on in this moment, and having success here and now. So therefore, people with a shorter headline are going to be much more geared towards making money because they haven't got this brain that drifts off to think about things that are less tangible, more ethereal, more philosophical, or more spiritual. The longer the headline, the longer somebody's going to ponder. And of course, if somebody's going to be pondering and they're a poet and they're thinking about the universe and the meaning of life and these really big questions, these things aren't going to be productive to making money. People that very often make money have actually quite short headlines, and this is definitely the case with this person here. So we can see that he's got this short headline, which is going to definitely focus him now making money, wanting to be successful in his job, wanting to get another promotion, wanting to make his branch the biggest, and he's not going to look past too much further than that. He's also got this large index finger, which we've seen in a couple of cases, and the large index finger, particularly on a man's hand, is going to give them exceptional responsibility because most men typically don't have this. It means that he's going to stand out from the pack. He's going to be much more responsible. He's going to be much more diligent. He's going to focus much harder on his work. And it means that he's going to rise to the top quicker. And he's definitely quite a young manager of his branch in the bank. We can look at the lifeline, and we've seen this pattern before in other videos, but I'll explain it again here. We can see that the lifeline has got a bit of a gap on the bottom and that the fate line overtakes it and supplements it. So when this is the case, it means that somebody doesn't feel 100% stable, far from it. The lifeline doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, but the job is supporting it. So the job line, the career line, the fate line, which moves up the center of the hand, is actually supplementing the lifeline. So what this means very literally is that somebody's work becomes their life. They put all of their energy into work, they put all of their drive and all of their focus into work, and then this is their way of trying to build stability, of trying to build their root and trying to feel like they're stable and comfortable. So everything about this person's hand is quite financially and money and success orientated based on the shorter headline, certainly the fate line, and then also this ambition that he's going to have with his index finger and the amount of success he wants to have for himself with it. So there we go. We've looked at lots of different hands here. We've looked at different types, different finger lengths, different line qualities. And what I'm sure you've picked up now is that there's no one attribute that shows money is going to be incumbent to the person. Money is always subjective, success is always subjective, but what you can see are lots of different hand types and different ways in which people can be successful. So when you're reading hands, you want to try and understand that it's very, very complex, this thing of success. However, there are specific qualities that are more prone to being good at making money, and those are the things that we've examined here. I hope that makes sense, everyone. You find it useful. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comments box and I'll get back to you.